Your Excellency, thank you so much. You're taking us your time. Our program name is Without Border, بدون مرز. And I'm looking for interview about the regional issue. What do you think the major problem in Islamic community?
Thank you for hosting me. Well, as you are aware, that the Islamic world, as of now, there is so many crises which been confronting with as an Islamic world. That's always in the bottom of our heart. The Palestinian case will always be there. And as you are aware, with the decision lately been taken by the United States to move the embassy to the Jerusalem, that is one of the main issue which all the Islamic world are taken into consideration. That's one. Well, definitely we are looking at the minority and what's happening in Rohingya and by Myanmar. That's definitely unaccepted. And we as an Islamic world, we have to really coordinate much better than what it used to be and cooperate with each other in order to defeat all of those which is against the humanities.
Unfortunately, the Islamic country didn't pay attention more to Rohingya Muslim. Why?
Well, I think United Nations has really taken that into considerations, and I really sure that we do have as International Parliamentary Union and the emergency items which was taken at that time in Russia was the Rohingya. Therefore, it's been taken into considerations from those people who are representing the parliamentarians, who are representing the people in each country. And therefore, that's definitely one of the main issues. Action really need to be taken in that considerations to protect the minority in Rohingya.
Unfortunately, the major problem in the region is the extremism and ISIS problem. And some ideology by some country dictate to them. And how we can solve this?
Unfortunately, what we have seen in ISIS, that's have nothing to do with the Islamic behaviors. When we look at the Islamic values, when we are looking at our Holy Al-Quran, and when we really look at Prophet Muhammad and the history of Prophet Muhammad, it will really give us a message, the way that we really need to take. I think tolerance was one of the main areas which Islamic were really concerned, and Prophet Muhammad as a messenger, he was really looking at tolerance and living in peaceful with all of the other humanities.
But unfortunately, some Arab countries support them. What's your advice to them?
There is no such country which supported ISIS, as far as I know.
But the finance and the support, the logistics support,
ISIS,
educated them.
ISIS, there is no support for ISIS at all. I think the whole world is against
ISIS
because this is against the Islamic values.
Yes.
How no one can really even think of supporting such an action which was taken by ISIS.
How they prepare their money, their logistics, how?
Well, there is definitely a ways for them to get the money. As you are aware, what's happening in Iraq, and they have dominated an area which was really producing oil. Alhamdulillah, and thanks to God, and thanks to the Iraqi armies, they have defeated them and taking them out. And we really thank God for that, and we really thank the Iraqi government for doing such an action.
The Oman is the most important country in the region and very cold inside and outside, behavior toward other country. What's your proposal to bring peace and security in the region?
Well, as you're aware, His Majesty, when he became in power in 1970, there was a ground basis which he was taking. There is no interference into other countries' affairs. And that was one of the main ground bases, which was the main policy of our country, and have a good relations with our neighborhood. That is the basis. And I think throughout the past 4 decades, that really has been considered by all of the countries, not just by talks, but by actions which was taken against so many cases happening throughout this 4 decades. Alhamdulillah, it's been a message to the whole world that the policy and the politics that Oman is taking been really respected, fully respected by all of the countries. And now they are looking at Oman as one of the main countries to create a peace.
Unfortunately, the government in the region fighting to each other, but the parliament not. How we can decide, how we can define the role of parliament to gathering the Muslim country?
As you are aware, you know that the authorities, they need to complement each other. Working in isolations from an authority to another, from executive authority to legislative authority, will lead us to nowhere. But if we coordinate and cooperate, that definitely will take us to our objectives, which will benefit the nations and the country. And that's what we are always taking as an objectives in our mind as a parliamentarians toward the government and the executive authority, that we really need to take the tools which will be the ground for us to complement each other.
Some experts, regional experts, believe that meddling the foreign country in the Persian Gulf situation, it bring it the worst situation. What do you define that? The meddling of the international community, power in the region. For example, United States, United Kingdom, and other major power interfere in the regional issue. How do you define that?
There is a sovereignty in each country, and that sovereignty, no one can interfere into that.
No, they follow up their policy, but unfortunately, to push another country, their behavior will be changed, and against it is a big problem.
If there is a powerful country, and they are looking to create a stability in the region, definitely will be welcome. If anyone who will interfere for the sake of stability and for the sake of security, no one can say no to that. Definitely that will be supported. As you are aware, when you are talking about powerful countries, definitely they do have tools in order to create a stability in the region. And if there is any spotlight for that stability, indeed, that will be welcomed.
Some major countries selling more weapons to other countries in the region. Do you think this brings peace or instability?
You know that each country, they need to have a defense to them, and that's their own decision by what is their requirements in order to defend their own nations.
Okay, but another problem in the region is the Yemeni problem. How do you define that, and what's your proposal to solve that?
Well, the Yemeni people, we are looking from a humanities point of view. That is very, very important. And I think that everybody is worshiping to God, that that's what's happening so far. It will be over. We are of the support that any interference which will create a stability to that region will definitely will be supported by all nations. And
do you think the coalition bombardment in Yemen will bring worse the situation or bring peace?
Well, as you are aware, the coalition, the main reason for interfering, it's to create a stability. And that stability we are all looking for. And if the coalition will be able to create that stability all over the time, definitely will be.
But the situation, humanitarian situation, is very worse in Yemen. And what should do the Islamic country?
At this case, I think an international decisions really need to be taken. And I think what happened in Kuwait 1 year back by bringing the conflict parties into tables, that's basically the dialogue, having a dialogue and looking at those differences that we are having.
But and, military action is not
interfering them into that dialogue. That definitely will be supported by And we really need to, Oman is really working towards having a dialogue with those conflict parties. And we are of the full support of having a dialogue with those conflict parties in order to achieve a peace agreement upon the conflict party. Well, you really need to look at what are the causes. It's always the media, one of the main causes of, what do they call it, exaggerating the issues towards wars.
Which media? Arab media, Western media, Iran media?
I cannot say
all
specific.
Media.
I'm talking about media.
All media.
All over the world. It's always exaggerating the issues more than what the fact is. And as you are aware that the policy of Oman is really working towards a peace,
but United Nations,
without having a media and looking at the case from a different dimensions.
It's not only by the media. Also, the United Nations agent also has said the humanitarian. What do you think about the coalition bombardment, Arab coalition, Saudi Arabia coalition toward bombardment of Yemeni people? Do you think its behavior bring peace and security in Yemen, or it bring situation worse?
You know that the coalition is trying their level best to avoid any bombs towards the humans. And that's basically to protect the humanities from any military actions. But again, if the coalitions will work towards stability, that definitely will be supported.
Okay. Oman and Iran have a good relation, historical, till now. But they have any problem in the region. How they can, their together cooperation can bring, and as a model of cooperation for peace and security in the region, how we can show other country and together and to working with each other.
As I mentioned earlier, that His Majesty vision towards things, that there is a ground basis, no interference to others, and have a good relations with our neighborhoods, and is our neighbor. And we do have a good relation with Iran. And there is a basis to that relations, as I mentioned to you. So I think the policy of Oman, it's well known to the rest of the world. Throughout the past 4 decades, it's one line, and it's not, you cannot really see that there is a changes of that line from time to time, according to there is one line, and that line well respected by the international community.
The final question, how do you think about the Iran and Omani government relationship? How we can improve that?
I think we are working towards so many things. And as I mentioned, from a political point of view, we do have a very good relation. We really need to enhance our economic, and that's very important, I think, for our benefits, both countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking part in our interview.
Thank you very
much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.